Hello, it's me, Dylan Knows. Again, technical difficulties have caused me to tear my hair out, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I got my Bing. I'm good. I'm calming down now. Hmm. But you know what? You don't want to know about that. You want to know about what we're here to talk about. Anyway, this is Dylan Knows. It's 1:10 p.m. on Sunday, not 12:30, unfortunately, due to technical issues. But we're all synced now. The TARDIS is in the proper timeline, so we're in good shape right now. And with me today, I have two companions. I've got expert Janeen. Say hi, Janeen.
Hi, Janine.
And expert Brianne. Say hi, Brianne.
Hello.
So, welcome to Dylan Knows. This is the fifth week, which is a special week because the other 4 Sundays of the month I have different shows on, but the fifth one pops up every once in a while, and I try to do something fun, something different each time. One of my last fifth week ones was back in December, where I did a show called Dylan Doesn't Know Doctor Who, because at that time I had never seen an episode of Doctor Who, old or contemporary, but I've been hearing about it from my Snark friends, Twitter friends, friends from work, just telling me how great it was. I did some reading on Wikipedia and read some articles and stuff like that, but never really got into the whole Doctor Who thing. But after doing the show, I said, you know what, I may as well check it out, and took a couple more months, but my wife and I, who's also on the journey with me, borrowed the first season of the contemporary Doctor Who with Christopher Eccleston, and we started watching it, and we became hooked instantly. And now, when we have time, we watch weekend. We've blown through 2 full seasons, and we're about, I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 seasons into the third. 2 or 3 or 4 episodes into the third season right now. And enjoying every minute of it. We've been reading books on it. In fact, for my birthday, this is how big I'm in Doctor Who now. For my birthday, my wife bought me season 1 of Eccleston. We had borrowed it from my stepdad, but now I have my own copy. And I bought her a book because she likes to read the Christopher Eccleston novel, Only Human. There's a whole series of Doctor Who's in this white binding, that one of every Doctor, different stories, so I figured she'd like this one. And then my stepdad also loaned me Who is the Doctor, which is a very helpful book that describes 2 guys, unofficial guide. They break down every episode and talk about their feelings on it. So I figured, you know what, we'll do something like that, and who else but my two experts here who are going to come in and watch and help me out here. The Q&A function is up, so if you want to make a comment about Doctor Who or ask any questions, you may, and we already have one up. Our friend Jan is asking, I can't wait to hear which Doctor you started with. I started with Christopher Eccleston. That's the 9th Doctor, because that was the beginning of the contemporary Doctors. I figured that'd be a good jumping on point. Plus, it's easier to access than the older ones, since I don't actually have a Netflix. But I do plan on seeing some of the older ones eventually. Janine is an expert on the older ones, and Brianne is expert on the contemporary ones. So I figured this would be a good discussion. So to begin with, just let the people know out there your interest in the Doctor. I'm going to start with Janine. Where did your interest start?
My brother and I came across Doctor Who when we were kids playing with the antenna, and we managed to find a station that was putting out Doctor Who, and so we would get a chance to watch it. So we started right with the very first Doctor. It was reruns at the time, but we were hooked, and so we looked forward to finding it through a New Jersey station that was airing it at the time. And then it got picked up by PBS, and so we got to watch some of the episodes more than once, and we got hooked. So we used to watch it all the time. It would come on Saturday mornings, and then later on it was on every day after school. So that was our regular activity every day. It was great.
And Brianne, what's your experience with the Doctor?
I've always known it existed, and I just didn't put it high on my list of things to watch. And we took my sister for graduation to the UK last year, and we did a whole family vacation, and she decided in London, instead of seeing the normal sites, all she wanted to do was see Doctor Who and Sherlock related sites.
Oh, cool.
And she dragged me around London, England, and there are pictures of me standing beside TARDISes, beside like things that I don't know what they are. So she nagged and nagged and nagged. And then when you had that show, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch for people that are not 18 years old to tell me why I should care. And then I watched, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to see this show. And I started 48 hours after Dylan doesn't know Doctor Who, and I watched all of it.
Fantastic. Yeah, it took me about 3 months, but I got it. I did get started. I did get started on it. It's at this point where I'm thinking to myself, and I've said to my wife before, is like, why didn't we watch this before? Because this is exactly up our wheelhouse. Because I don't know why I never really. I thought maybe it was because of the big amount of continuity. Is it because we'll be entering in with the Ninth Doctor? There's so much out there, 50 years worth of stuff that we don't know anything about. Would it be confusing for us to jump in and try to figure out what's going on? But I have to applaud Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat when they decided they were going to reboot. Well, not reboot it, but not even start over, just continue it. I think it was 2004. I think was when the first new episode came out, and it seemed to be the appropriate time to, because Doctor Who had started to slide a little bit, and really wasn't. I mean, it was still highly popular, but there just wasn't any really new stuff out there. And then they decide, you know what? Why don't we try to make this up for a whole new generation. And with their first episode with Eccleston, Rose, they were able to write an episode that people who might have never seen Doctor Who before would have been able to jump on to the show and would be able to understand what's going on without having to know all the backstory. Now, knowing all the backstory is good because you get the jokes, you get the aliens, you get how he's reacting the way he is, and you eventually they are such good writers that they've been able to work it out so that if you've never seen this stuff, you've been able to, they'll be able to spell out for you, like, this is what this is what that is. So I think that was a win-win on their part, and I think that's what made it such a huge hit. Again, it's because a lot of people who maybe thought the same that I did, that there was just so much backstory that it would be impossible to jump on and understand what's going on, they made it very viewer-friendly, and that's what is causing the huge surge that's going on now, because it's huge. I mean, I guess it's always been huge, but now the era of Twitter and social media, it's all over the place. There's communities on Google+, on Twitter, on Facebook even, where all they talk about is Doctor Who, and they post all this stuff, and there's tons and tons of people, and they all love it, and it's fantastic. It is such a great thing. Now, my favorite Doctor is, as of now, is Christopher Eccleston. But as I said, I've only caught a little bit of Tennant, and I haven't caught any of Matt Smith yet, and I haven't caught any of the older guys. But Tennant is slowly becoming a favorite of mine also. But right now, Eccleston's still my favorite, just because it was something just so different. I mean, 9 is coming off of the Time War, and he's got all the pressure of the universe on him and what he did, and he's got a dark side, but then all of a sudden, bam, like that, a little flash of humor pops out, he gets a little goofy here and there, and it makes it seem like this is pretty cool, he's a pretty cool guy. And then you introduce him to his companion, Rose, who everybody, I think, seems to really like a lot, too. I like Rose. So far, she's my favorite companion right now. And it works out. So this time I'm going to switch up. Brianne, who is your favorite Doctor? And companion as well.
Oh, okay. Doctor, right now it's David Tennant. I was with you. I really loved Eccleston, and I was like, he's great. And then Tennant really grew on me. And I enjoyed Matt Smith, but I was still brokenhearted over David Tennant. But just seeing the stuff with Peter Capaldi, I have this feeling, just reading some of the interviews, some of the stuff he's saying, some of the stuff that's leaking off the set, I'm really open to him, and I'm kind of excited. Like, I think I might really like him in terms of characters that I like and the type of character I like. Companion, Hmm.
And you can talk about people I don't know about yet. That's fine. I mean, it's you've seen it, and as I said, I've done some reading before, so reading up on it. So if it's someone who I haven't seen yet, please let it rip. You know.
I gotta go Donna. I love Donna. She has this great personality and um spoilers, but she's the one that she's the comedian that doesn't fall in love with him. And I love that dynamic. She becomes his buddy and it's hilarious and she treats him almost like he's her little brother and I really love the back and forth between them. But second to her, in close second, I'm in love with Rory, and I'm looking to Janine because he dated 2,000 years.
Oh, I don't know.
I love Rory. Like we saw Rose at a con. I took my kids to a con. They walked by. They're like, "There's Rose," and I'm like, "Is Rory here? Because if Rory's not here, I ain't going anywhere." I'm just in love with Rory. So, yeah, Rory's my Doctor Who Daniel.
Ah, okay. That's saying something for those who don't know Brienne. That is actually saying something when she says that. I met Donna only the one time in the Runaway Bride episode, and her first half of the Runaway Bride, she annoyed the hell out of me. But she started to grow on me a little bit, and I'm watching my wife watch it, and I was still kind of annoyed with her. With not my wife, with Donna, but and I turned to her and my wife Dawn's like, you know what? I want to see a little bit more of her. She knows that Donna is going to come up in the 4th season, but she said I want to see a little bit more of her because I've heard some people say that Donna's really good, and she's got. And after that, that's like the halfway point of the Christmas episode where everything starts to fall apart for Donna. You begin to realize, you begin to see her wounded self and how much she's going through at that time. And and the fact is that she's like in every woman. I remember when he's like flabbergasted, is like, didn't you see the giant spacecraft in the sky last Christmas? Oh no, I was hungover the whole time. Or I was on holidays when the Slovene ship crashed into the Big Ben. It's like, oh, I was on holidays. I didn't even know that was going on. So she was just totally oblivious to it, and that's like a normal person. She doesn't really, she's worried more about what's going on with her. So that's pretty interesting aspect to that. I have heard a little bit about Rory, and I know about him. He's coming up with, I think, Matt Smith. He's in the Matt Smith era, I believe, with Amy Pond. Yes, thank you very much. Now, Janine, I know who your favorite Doc is, but everybody else might not know. So, Janine, let her rip. Who's your favorite Doc, and who's your favorite companion?
Well, my favorite Doctor is Tom Baker, and my favorite companion is Sarah Jane Smith, and those are both from what they consider the classic. I really like Eccleston though for the new ones. I like oh my gosh, Sarah Jane Smith and Rose are a lot alike. To me, Rose is kind of Sarah Jane Smith rebooted because she was there as a friend right from the start because she was with Sean Pertwee before Tom Baker came on board, and then when Tom Baker came on board, things kind of changed, and where before Doctor Who was this kind of like, I don't know, like a mentor and leading her along and teaching her all these amazing things. When he changed to Tom Baker, Sarah Jane started to change a little bit, and you could see she was getting kind of a crush on him, and things changed with the Doctor, and eventually he had to leave, and I cried my eyes out that he left. They left her behind for the longest time. So when I saw Rose come in, I saw a lot of the same qualities that Sarah Jane Smith had when he came in, and the fact that he was coming off from the Time Wars and was really wounded and really hurt, to run into someone with the same qualities that she had, but could see him through those fresh eyes. And I don't know, I definitely like Rose, but I think Dawn is probably my favorite as well, because she doesn't have the romantic attachment, and so she can talk to him, and she stands right up to him, and she tells him, you're out of line, and who do you think you are? And and he's here to protect us, and then he starts to lose it, and she just reels him back with a slap, if that's what it takes. And yes, you have to admire that about Donna, totally. I mean, Martha was an excellent companion, but she kind of had the hots for him right from the start, and she was like that transition coming in, and she was able to turn around and say goodbye and walk away. So that's very admirable. But
Yeah.
Donna did so much more. Donna sacrificed. Well, I don't know.
No, please. I forgot to mention spoilers for those who might not have seen it. I'm a spoiler fiend.
Yeah.
I know a lot about what's upcoming on Doctor Who, but there's also apparently a lot I don't know because of what we were discussing before the show.
Oh yes.
But
definitely.
Please, Janine, please, and you too, Brianne, if you have any spoilers, just be aware, viewers, if you have not watched Doctor Who or do not want to know spoilers, I hate to say this, but don't watch the show. Don't watch this show. You can watch it. It'll be on YouTube anytime you want. You come back to it, but there will be spoilers. And Janine, please, what's your spoiler you want to say?
Donna sacrifices everything for him. She really does. Right, Brianne?
Oh, Janine feels.
I know. When you when you know how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it just makes you want to cry. It's crushing, absolutely crushing.
Because it's not the typical it's not the typical sacrifice they do in a show when there's a male and a female character. It's not that, and then that makes it even more crushing because it's just.
It surpasses anything else that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cried like a baby. I think I was actually on the exercise bike when all that went down, and my husband comes upstairs because he's not into Doctor Who, and he comes upstairs and he walks by and he's like, "Are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? Should you stop pedaling?" I'm like, "It's just Donna." And I'm sobbing. I could tell him being pedaling on the exercise bike.
This is one of those series that when someone mentions a particular show and certain things that happen, that as soon as they mention it, you're just overwhelmed with all the emotions, and it's just back to you like you just watched it, and it takes 2 or 3 days to fully recover from the experience, and then someone reminds you of it again, and it's all back. It's unbelievable. Just to watch the show and cry like a baby.
You do.
Totally. It's a series.
And that's what I like about the show too, and that's one of the things I like about it. I'm a sucker for great writing, and I also don't like. I like cliches somewhat, but I still find cliches to be a little bit of a lazy writing. I know sometimes you can't help it sometimes, and there are some occurrences in Doctor Who, that the ones that I've seen, where it's kind of cliched. That a good example is when in season 2. When Rose and Tennant are at the Satan planet or whatever, the one with that's right outside of the black hole, and so the demon Satan type of being is being held captive in there, and he loses the TARDIS in the pit. And then the whole thing, it's a two-parter, and the whole thing comes to the end, and then it looks like, the world's going to get sucked into the black hole, and the Doctor's, giving up the ghost. He's like, I'm gonna die here, but at least Rose is gonna get away and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, oh wait, look, there's a TARDIS. I'm just gonna hop in and take off. It's just that's not. I like the episodes, but sometimes stuff like that just gets me, and that's okay. I mean, I understand sometimes it's necessary, but the fact is there is so much other great writing in Doctor Who that even these little bits and pieces where things happen, cliche-wise or whatever, it's okay. And I also understand also that in England, this is considered almost an all-ages show. So it's like something you sit. Am I wrong on this? Or you sit down with your family and watch?
My kids watch it.
It's a kids show. It was always a kids show. I mean, there are tons of adults that watch it, but I mean, it's a kids series.
And I think that was more, back in the old days, in the 60s through the 80s, the old series.
The kids grew up. We're still watching.
They're still watching. That's because they didn't have the cynicism or the effects or whatever they could. That they had to do this type of more almost like a family type of thing. So the creatures they might be scary for kids, but they still kind of look a little off. But now with computer generation and stuff like that, these new shows are a bit scarier, but they do have that little, family issue. I mean, it's just great. The Christmas episodes, you see the plastic Santa Clauses. The first two I've seen, the plastic Santa Clauses and the Christmas tree that kills people. It's really
You haven't gotten to the one with the swimming fish yet, right?
No, I haven't. The only ones I've seen, Runaway Bride. I saw the Runaway Bride. I saw the Christmas Invasion. And then I realized today that Eccleston never really did one, but he did do the Dickens episode, but that didn't come out on Christmas. That was in April.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I love that one.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, Eve Miles is in that one too, so she plays Gwen.
Yeah, that the Dickens one, I like that one a lot. Even though I know it's not technically a real Christmas episode. Then the Christmas Invasion, which did come out, I'm talking about the ones that come out on Christmas Day, which is a tradition in England, is that Doctor Who is always going to have an episode on Christmas Day, which I absolutely love. I think that's like one of the greatest ideas ever, is to have a special episode that does connect to the series, and it can be standalone, but it does have maybe little subplots or little things that you need to know leading into the other stuff. I found Christmas Invasion to be a little lacking, only because that was when Tennant first came on, and he was out of it for half of the show, and then Rose was acting she wasn't acting quite like her usual self, but I could understand. And the more I think about it, she had just seen Eccleston regenerate into this man she doesn't even know, and so she's kind of freaked out by it. But then she recovers herself like that. And then the Runaway Bride one, as I said, to me it started off a little on the irritating side, but it got a lot better at the end. So I can't wait to see what the rest of the Christmas ones are coming up on. But when you told me about Sarah Jane and
love Sarah Jane,
it made me think of the season 2 episode School Reunion. Which brought her back, brought K9 back, and had Giles from Buffy play the bad guy. That was one of my favorite episodes of season 2. I thought that was fantastic. And then when you were talking about her connection to Rose, the two of them having the girly conversations about the Doctor and giggling and laughing, I think was freaking hilarious. I love that. Absolutely love that. Every minute of that episode is probably one of my favorites.
To have the two of them actually meet for me was phenomenal, because Sarah Jane always felt that way for the Doctor but never told him, and here was when she looked, she could see herself right there in Rose, and she saw the whole thing and understood everything. And yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite episodes, just to see the two of them together have that whole interaction and have them be friends and have him nervous when they're talking. That was pretty cool.
And then when you guys mentioned Donna being more of a brotherly, sisterly type of relationship, I love that. And that's one of the things that I understand why it happens, but the fact is, and it happens a lot in science fiction, is when you have a male and female partner, it's only a matter of time before it seems like they're going to have to fall in love with each other and stuff like that. X-Files, I love the Scully and Mulder going back and forth, but once they started having a relationship, it sort of lost it for me a little bit. I kind of like the fact that you don't need to always be in love with each other. It's good to sometimes see a different type of relationship, and you got me excited now when you're telling me Donna's sort of like that with the Doctor.
Donna, yeah, but I'm gonna say, because that's actually one of my pet peeves, is you eventually have to end up together. I think it's lazy writing when you kill the relationship when they get together, because, and I know Janine's thinking what I'm thinking, but there is something romantic that shows up in the Doctor. It's brilliant, it's wonderful, and
definitely
that's couple writing. That's the way it should be. They shouldn't diminish either the male or the female character. And I'm looking at the comments going, that's right, that one.
Yep.
That's who I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I'm watching them too. Yep.
I love this. Dylan says things, and I look at Janine, and we're both like,
"Yep, here we have." It's like a secret language.
Exactly, and that's what I like, though. I like the fact that not every companion is going to be in love with him. I know about Amy and Rory's relationship and how Matt Smith looks at them as well. I mean, yeah, I know you're shaking your head. No, you don't, Dylan. You really don't know because you haven't seen it yet. I know some stuff. I know things. I know some things. I know some things. I know what's going on. I heard your little comment about 2,000 years. I know what that is. Surprised you, huh? I surprised you. That's you have to blame my friend Gary for that. He told me about that. So I know about that. And I know about what happens with the two of them and when they get together, and you know how biology works, and I know what happens there too. So, ha! But I don't know.
You don't understand.
I don't understand. I don't understand. No, I don't get the nuances, and I don't understand. Yes, I know.
The tip of the iceberg, and it's not even the tip. It's like an edge, sort of, kind of, on the edge. There's so much more. So much more.
I know. I just that's just funny. But and we can talk about some of this stuff later on. That's fine. But let me see where I got here. So actually, that leads me into something that I wanted to discuss to you also. And you can go up and down with everything, even some of the old companions. I don't think they're not companions, old doctors, Janine. But the fact is, what is the doctor's relationship status? I mean, he's as of now. I mean, he's flirting with Martha. He and Rose had that moment, especially at Doomsday, where he's trying to get out that he loves Rose, but is unable to. And she's able, and you can see her. I think in season 1 with Eccleston, she was just so enthralled with the idea of traveling with this older gentleman and having fun, stuff like that. And maybe I misconstrued it, but I didn't really see anything like puppy dog eyes for him. It was more along it's just he's this guy I really like hanging out with. He's a lot of fun, but I didn't really see like she wanted to be more with him. And then with the second season with Tennant, that's when it started to spiral more and more. She seemed to be more and more becoming more possessive of him and wanting to possibly move their relationship from a companion doctor relationship to maybe something a little bit more heavier. Is there anything upcoming, about the Doctor and his relationship status, or do you see him with any women? Is there any? Because some people call him almost asexual. Is there anything sexual about him besides, being a studly guy? So I'll let you two talk amongst yourselves while I just sit back and listen.
Brianne, you can go first, because David Tennant doesn't excite me at all. He's very nice and he's very sweet, but I prefer Matt Smith over David Tennant. So,
but more about the character though of the Doctor. Does he show relationship stuff? Does he have aspirations to be married or be with? Does he? Do any of him and his companions hook up? Or do you just not want to tell me? It doesn't matter to me either way.
Oh, it's not like that, right, Brianne? I mean, he's with someone for a while. I mean, I don't know. I've watched. I know. I can't really explain. I don't know. It just changes. There's so many like little episodes in between, like the fireplace.
Okay.
The one in the fireplace.
Yeah, I saw that episode. So there was that one where
that one's amazing. And then the whole thing with Martha when he's doesn't have his memory and he's walking around with that watch and Martha's like watching what unfolds, and I mean that changes everything too.
Okay, I mean, if you don't want to be specific, that's fine. But I'm just saying, is there any upcoming stuff where we see him take an interest in his companion that's more than companion doctor style? Is it like that he wants to move it to the next level? and you don't have to use specifics. If you want to say yes, there is, and then move on, that's fine.
There is one specific companion that he has been with since the very start.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Cause see, I'm still hung up on certain other people, but yeah.
But he's been with her right from the beginning, and then that's the best, most powerful romance that he has, and that relationship is just never going to end. And
Okay.
we only get a tease of it.
Bria's still holding her tongue. She's like, I want to say so much, but I can't.
I know. I wasn't even thinking about that because
That's the one that stands out the most for me.
Yeah, that's true. Because I really liked. Okay, how bad can we spoil Dylan? Like bad?
You can spoil me bad. That's fine.
He won't remember.
He won't remember. I loved, like, I didn't really think of her as a companion, but I really loved River, and I loved the confusion. Okay, gonna spoil really bad, so if you don't want to know, mute it, plug your ears, whatever.
Yeah, don't listen.
But River is his wife, and he finds this out by her telling him, "I'm your wife." And she knows exactly who he is and knows his name that no one else has ever known. And he doesn't understand. So you watch him in confusion trying to figure this out. And then when they figure it all out, it just kind of blows you away. And then it's perfect. And it's awesome. And I really liked her. But then, of course, because they do it in reverse order, by the time you figured it all out, you know what happens, and then you're just kind of heartbroken.
Yeah,
that's vague enough. I mean, I knew about River Song. I also know about who her parentage is, but I don't know the specifics, and that is and that's fine. I'm not going to mention the parentage because there might be people out there,
that's
Janet.
Spoiler.
And Janica's yelling at me right now. It's like, spoilers, Dylan, we can't tell you, but you can tell me. I like spoilers. And then I'll back up a little bit because there is something that I like about the way that the writer's doing, and I think there's a connection to our discussion, is that we just watched the Shakespeare one also, which is absolutely a great one, fantastic one, the Shakespeare Code. That episode I absolutely adore just because of all the Shakespearean quotes that Tennant uses, and Shakespeare's like, oh, I'm going to steal that one, I'm going to steal that one, and we all know, you wrote him, he's just quoting you, it's funny. And then and that's one of the things I like about it, and I've seen it more in this season than any of the other ones, that they throw something into an episode that might not pay off until maybe a little later on. I mean, yeah, they did it in the first season with Bad Wolf, and yes, they did it in season 2 with Torchwood, but in this, it was more along the lines of, there's Queen Elizabeth coming in to the Globe and is like, wants to kill the Doctor, and he's like, I don't know why, but, and I know you're looking at me too, I also know a little bit about Queen Elizabeth also, and
Yep.
And you don't have to tell me about that because it's kind of confusing me a little bit, is that how could that work if you don't really see them together, you know what I'm saying? And that's all I'm going to say about that. And Janica says the same thing. We found out recently he had a big affair with the Queen of England, so okay. Hopefully that's the same one I'm talking about. I don't know. But let's see. I guess I don't want to... I know you guys don't want to spoil it too much for me because that's, I guess, part of the experience of it. I just was trying to get an idea, are we going to see a little bit more about relationships between the Doctor and not just his companions but other people as well, and I think you guys have answered that, to a good T, so we can actually move on to something that isn't quite as spoilery, which is just a question that popped into my head actually before the show, is like, so far, we've only seen the control room of the TARDIS. Now, he keeps saying it's bigger on the inside. Is there more to the TARDIS than just the control room?
Yes.
Is that a spoiler, or... I mean, do you see a little bit more of the TARDIS down the line, a few more episodes, the other seasons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Get to do some exploring.
Good conversation.
Hey.
It's
Okay.
amazing.
Look, yeah, I know it's hard, and then maybe what we could do is I can catch up on a few more between now and August 23rd, and maybe we can all get back together again sometime in August and hit some more of the spoilery stuff before the new Doctor Who. That by no means we're done today's episode, but I'm just saying maybe that's something we could do. Maybe we could start talking about stuff that isn't quite as spoilery for me, such as running down the seasons. So why don't we just go ahead and do that, because I know you guys are being extraordinarily tight-lipped, and I am glad you are. I'm glad and I'm frustrated because like I want to know this stuff, but at the same time, that's part of the fun of the show is the exploration of it, and 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 stuff like that. So before we move on to that, let's just hit some of these Q&As like you mentioned. Janica actually has a good rundown of the companions.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like Rose represents the spirit of the Doctor, Martha was intellect, Donna was ego, Amy filled several family roles as it rolled along, and River completed them. So that's a interesting way to look at it, and I can't wait to see where that is. Janik also says, don't forget, guys, the Doctor was temporarily married to Marilyn Monroe and had relationships with other historical figures. So,
oh, yeah.
Yes, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
I guess the life of a time traveler is very complicated, and that's one of the aspects of the show which I think is really cool, is that, and could be potentially maybe why a lot of people aren't into watching it, is because time travel is a very hard subject to talk about and show on screen, because there are so many rules that need to be followed, and not every sci-fi story based in time travel have the same rules, and it gets a little confusing. And the fact is, if you're a time traveler, you can pretty much go into any slot in time anywhere, which, as far as I've seen, he's done so far. He's gone from the very beginning of the Earth's creation to the very end of the Earth's creation as well. And I'm sure there's probably more stuff he's going to be going into along the way. And time travel is a very interesting thing to talk about, and it could be a mess if you don't have a crack writing staff. But from what I've heard, the show is pretty much built around the fact that he's time traveling. I mean, that's every episode he's in a different location. Be it could be contemporary times, but then it could be 3 years down the line, could be 5 years but down the line, could be a million years down the line, could be a billion years in the past. And that's what I think makes the show very interesting and makes it a fun show, is because you're able to take an episode and explore these different locations from a modern day perspective, like the episodes that we've got coming up. We've got the two-parter set in the Great Depression in New York with the Daleks. So, him going back to the Great Depression in the 20s, I guess, or the 30s, and having the Daleks there is going to be an interesting take, especially if I can recall, that might actually be his first trip to America, that we've seen because I don't think he went in the first or second seasons. I'm trying to remember if he went to. I don't think he went to America in those. And it's always interesting to see how the British view Americans, because I've always seen they always seem to think of us as cowboys. So they always have, whenever they do your cliched American, it's with a cowboy hat and a Southern accent, like a Texan accent, and that's all it is. But that's funny. Let's see what else we got here. He's not limited to his companions, but we are told the story of the Doctor through his companions. That's from Jan also. Whoa! Everyone okay? Even the Doctor doesn't know what all is in the TARDIS. Okay, that's interesting as well.
It's really big.
And then John McGevna, where's John, says, she isn't a companion, but I got the hots for River Song. Thanks, John.
She's not a companion yet.
That's right. Yeah, huh? All right, so what we can do now is, if you want to if you want to just start with stuff that I do know, so we're not spoiling stuff. And so season 1, which I call of the contemporary season, you bring in Eccleston, who only lasted for 1 season because they were continuing the adventures of Doctor Who, but they wanted to restart it for a new generation. Eccleston's a huge actor over in England, stage and screen, I guess. And he comes in just for his 1 season. That's all he said he wanted to do, I guess. And that is, I think, what made it so popular, is the pathos and the way of the world that he has on him, because we learned during that season that there was the Time War, that that he had to make a decision, and the decision where, and I was talking to Dawn, my wife, about this earlier, he had to destroy his people and destroy all the Daleks in order to save the universe. The billions and billions of people, he had to destroy his people and the Daleks to end this war. And so you see him as that rough and tumble, scarred, sad companion, and then you're like, oh man, this is going to be a bummer. But then he pulls out these classical, jokey, fun, and he has fun. He actually does have some fun moments and some fun times, and his little comments and his little asides and stuff like that. And but then he always comes back. Something always reminds him, like one of the alien species he's battling or whatever, that he is the lone survivor of his people and that he had to destroy all these people. And you see him go like that, from being this cheerful, happy-go-lucky guy to this man who is in a bad place. And that is, and that's one of the reasons why I think I found season 1 and Eccleston such great, is that he can switch back and forth between these moods. And you think he might be getting a little too jokey, then all of a sudden something brings us back down to earth, and he gets a little too broody, and then he gets jokey again, and it works out. And that's the sign of a fantastic writing crew. So on a whole, what do you guys take from the Eccleston season? Favorite episodes? Anything you want to say? Either of you can start off with that. Okay.
Well, I liked him. Like, I don't, when I say I love Tennant, I don't want it to be like, oh, I didn't like Eccleston, because I thought he was really, really great. I was kind of sad that he went so soon, because I hadn't really been reading the spoilers yet. And then all of a sudden he's telling Rose, I'm going, and I knew what it meant because of what my sister told me. And I was like, wait, whoa. Like, we just got used to you. And then he was gone. But I think my favorite episode with him, Dalek. I think that's with Eccleston, where the Dalek and Rose have that moment, and she's trying to understand how they can be these horrible killers, and because she's just trying to understand how it got to that. She's trying to understand him, and she's trying to get, like, why are these so bad? Why can't we just change their minds? And she just, I don't know, that's a powerful episode, and I really, I like Rose, but I'm not a super Rose fan, but I really liked that whole episode and that moment at the end when she touches it or whatever, and then it, it's used her and all that kind of stuff. I like that one.
That's a rough episode. Way back when, Todd Baker, we got a chance to see Sarah Jane Smith with him with the Daleks at the beginning, where he could have ended all of the Daleks and erased them for forever, and he didn't. He didn't do it. So that's, oh my gosh, you have to watch the classics, I'm telling you. It's, yeah, there was a point where he could have changed everything, and he didn't do that. So when he has all of these feelings, all this guilt, all these things that he could have changed, that he could have done, he's so tied into the history of these things way beyond what we see. So there's this huge weight. I mean, he's, over 900 years old in the show, and he has this huge amount of guilt and things that have happened that he's carried with him. And the only thing that's kept him sane are these people who have these little teeny short lives compared to his, that give him this this caring and just keep him connected to everything. And I don't know. That's one of the hard ones for me to watch. But I was connecting her with Sarah, so it was a really rough one. For me, it was the second episode when Eccleston was in there, because he is still fresh, and he's with Jabe, the tree the tree people, the woman there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that
And that
was.
whole scene where he's there, he's fixing
Oh,
that, she
yeah.
knows who he is. He hasn't told anyone. He hasn't told Rose. And when Jay puts her hand on his arm, because he's always had this distant. I mean, he grabs Rose's hand and runs, but she was like touching him, and just understanding what he's lost and what happened, and you just see his eyes well up, and you can just see the weight of everything that happened and how wounded he is, and all of the stuff that he's carrying with him, and how much it means to connect with another person. And oh my gosh, it's like that whole scene is just like etched in my head for like forever.
And then it
Oh,
really got you with what
it
happens
does.
at the end of that episode,
Oh
which
my
I'm not going to
gosh.
spoil with, but
No,
that
oh
was.
my gosh, you can't.
I know I'm not going to, but it was just like I was like, wow. And Janica was asking me, were there any episodes that made you cry, Dylan? Not yet, but that was a close one. That was a close one.
That was my first one for the new season.
I agree with you too, Brianne. Dalek is probably my favorite. It just I knew from reading old Doctor Who and the write-ups and from my friends telling me, I knew that Dalek was like his major villain, well, one of his major villains, and the fact that this was, you see at the time that they're the last of each other's species. He's the last Dalek. He's the last Time Lord, and you see the two of them together. And it's just a absolutely intense scene when he just unloads all the anger he has on the Dalek and just trashes him, destroys him. And then the way it just unfolds, the way it ends with Rose reaction to that as well, and that ending where she touches him, and it looks like that maybe the Dalek might have started to change his thinking a little bit. And then we find out later that that's not the case. And that thumping you hear is Mr. Patrick Smith has joined us. Hi, Patrick. How you doing?
Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry it took me so long to get you invited in here. We were having quite the discussion, so I figured I'd to pop you in real quick while we getting near the end, because they're being very tight-lipped about spoilers, so I really can't get into much about that. So we're going to just start taking a look back at the seasons I have seen. If you don't know, I've only seen both the first and second seasons. I've seen all episodes of that, and then we're about 3 or 4 episodes into the third season. The last one I did was Gridlock. So we've just been talking about our favorite moments like that. And I'll get to you in a second, Patrick, but I just want to finish this thread. My other favorite in season 1 was Father's Day, which is a great Rose. That was a great Rose episode, and a great sign for to show how time travel can be used to its strength in a show about time travel. The consequences, the things that happen, and once again the emotional just tear that tears you up. The fact that, for those who don't know, and I'm not really spoiling anything because Rose, talks about it from the get-go for the most part. Her father was killed in a car accident. Actually, was hit by a car while he was crossing the street, and died when she was young. And her mom had to raise her by herself. And so this is like about, I guess, halfway through the first season, I suppose. And so she's been with the Doctor long enough, and then she requests to go back to the time when he dies, so she can see her father one last time, before he dies. And so the Doctor says, okay, I'll take you back there, and he does, and she sees him die again, and it just absolutely kills her. And then she says, can we just do it one more time, because I just want to see him again. The Doctor's a little bit hesitant, but he does it anyway, and that was his mistake. And the minute they go back again for the second time, she runs away from him and saves her father, which ends up destroying the timeline. And it's the first time I've seen the Doctor just totally go ballistic on Rose, which you've never seen up to that point. And he had every right to be upset with her. She's still new in the game, but the fact is, he starts getting a little bit of a hurt feeling that maybe the only reason why she joined up with him is this point could happen, so she could use his time travel machine to save her dad.
Oh, no.
And
No,
no,
sorry.
but that's what it starts off as, you know. That's what his belief is when that first happens, and he's so incensed with her, and then gradually, yes, eventually, you know, the timeline's changed, and then everything gets all screwy, and then eventually she realized she's got to fix the timeline again, and the Doctor and her get back together. But that was my take from it, because he was really, really upset with her. And that was what his first thought, because he actually mentioned something like that. It's like, you wanted to just learn this stuff so you could come back to this point. He was upset with her. He might not necessarily meant it, and we know that that wasn't the reason why Rose did it. I know that. But the fact is, when he is totally incensed with her, that's the first thing he says to her, is that you did this deliberately. Am I wrong? Okay, don't answer this one. Patrick, am I wrong?
Brianne and I are being quiet.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Dylan, I've been watching a little bit of the show before I jumped on, but no, you're right. I completely agree with what you're saying there.
It was just for that one episode, when he was totally incensed with her, that he felt that that was the only reason why she hooked up with him. And we do learn down the line that that's not true, that she did it because she wanted something more for her life and all this stuff. And then she ends up doing the right thing at the end. And then, you know, it's, you know, so those are my two favorite episodes. A little interesting thing about that episode, it was written by Paul Cornell, who is actually a writer of comic books, which is another one of my passions. He writes the Wolverine comic book for Marvel, you know, the Hugh Jackman style Wolverine. He writes that comic for Marvel, so it's the same Paul Cornell. So it's kind of interesting that he can jump from, you know, doing Doctor Who to doing comics also. And then I think he also writes another one in the third season as well. So I can't wait to see that. Now, Patrick, we're talking about the first season right now. Real quick, let's just back up a little bit. Who's your favorite Doctor, and who's your favorite companion, real quick?
My favorite Doctor goes back to the classics, and it's Tom Baker. He's the one I grew up on. He's the one, the first one that I remember watching him, and will always be my favorite. Of the modern, I'm gonna say this, and I've like I said, I've watched a little bit of what y'all been talking about. Eccleston is actually my favorite of the modern ones. And as far as my companions, ladies, I'm sorry, I know how y'all feel about Donna, but Rose holds a special place in my heart. Like when we talked before on our sci-fi show, there's characters that'll grip me in a certain way, and Rose to me will always hold a special place. She'll hold a place in my heart that Walter Bishop will hold as well. You know, it's just the dynamic of her character, the way it transitions from the start of her character all the way through to, spoiler here, Dylan, the ending, which isn't an ending, and I know you've got past where you think Rose ends, but she hasn't actually ended yet for you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She just
yeah, again, Brianne's biting her tongue again. She's like, I want to tell you, Dylan, I really do, but I can't.
He's bad as we are, by the way. He's making the same pained faces. He's trying really hard to select his words.
Yep. It's very timey-wimey.
very much, very much.
Yes.
And yes, I get that reference. Yes, I do.
Yes, it's so confusing.
But Rose will always hold a special place for me.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we've just seen Rose, and we're 2 or 3 episodes in with Martha, and we saw the Runaway Bride with Donna. So my view is right now Rose is my favorite, but I still haven't seen all the others yet. Martha she's okay, but from what I've been hearing from Brianne and Janeen, and from what I've been seeing, stuff like that, her her love of the Doctor might be a little off-putting a little bit, because we had the discussion before that. I'm not always a big fan of, the male and female partners who work together eventually getting a relationship together, or maybe having one, being in love with the other one, that type of thing. I can understand why it's used and why it's done, but to me, I prefer. In some cases, it might work, but in a lot of times, I like to see the fact that you can have a man and a woman work together and not have it turn out to be a relationship, a romantic relationship. You can have it be a very familial relationship, a very friendly relationship. Something like a good example. I'm going to just jump off topic just real quick, and then we'll jump back to Doctor Who with Harry Potter. When J.K. Rowling came out and said that she preferred to see Harry Potter with Hermione, and she said she wished she would have written it that way instead of Hermione with Ron, I had to laugh in her face like, J.K., I know they're your characters, I know you created them, but you know what? Hermione and Harry, to me, are brother and sister. I mean, they come from similar backgrounds. They were both raised by Muggles, whereas she's not even a true witch. She's a mudblood. Excuse my racist overtone to the to the non witchy parents. And Harry, while he might be full blooded since both his parents are witches, he still was raised by his human aunt and uncle. So. And to me, and I got that a lot in the book, but a lot more in the movie, that Harry and Hermione were always more of a brother-sister relationship, and that's the way that I'm always going to look at it, and that Ron and Hermione belong together. And then that's just, I'm just going to make that point to get back to my statement that in cases like that, I like the fact that the main male and the main female did not get together in that aspect, because you can have stories where a male and a female do not have to have a romantic relationship. So now to get back to Doctor Who. Okay. Now another thing that happened in season 1 that I think all of you guys are very happy about is the introduction of a certain Captain Jack. Tell us your feelings of Captain Jack. I know you're dying to talk about it. So whoever wants to start? Come on, somebody talk about Captain Jack.
Love Jack. He is. He's fun. He. There are no rules that apply to Jack. He just does what Jack does.
Yeah.
And you forgive him for everything he does.
Wait, see, spoilers. He's just. He's just really great. He's a neat character because they play him off in the beginning as, he is just this flirt, because I mean he is just coming on to Rose from like the get-go.
Major.
But it's so cute. He's adorable, and it's so complex because the more you get to know him, the better you get to know him. It's very complex. And then another reason I haven't gone to the classic Who is I got sucked into Torchwood, and then there's a whole nother side of him, and I have to say, I apologize in advance if this offends anybody, but it makes me so excited that he is bisexual and nobody cares.
Yeah.
He just is who he is, and we don't see that enough, and it makes me really excited. I'm like, yay! Like it's just who he is, and it's a part of who he is, and that's makes him even more awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Patrick,
Definitely.
your take on Captain Jack, Patrick?
I love Captain Jack. I love how they developed him from the very start, just being sporadic, thrown in, and then how he becomes so integral into the part of almost being the companion of the Doctor, and then how it leads into Torchwood. There's an episode, I don't know if you've got to it yet, but where it's kind of the Torchwood backdoor pilot, but just the whole way that they develop his character from just being a sporadic thrown in to being completely necessary. I really love Captain.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I haven't seen the backdoor pilot for Torchwood yet because we're only in season 3, and I don't think he pops up in season 3, except for that one episode, that little sequence you're telling me that I missed at the end of. Which, for Patrick, for a little bit of background, we were talking before the show started. I was telling them about Gridlock, and I was like saying, on my copy, the DVD copy that I have, it has the Doctor and Martha hearing the Face of Bo's last words, which are that he is not alone, and then Martha's like, did he say anything to you? And I think he sort of brushes it off. And from what I recall, that's where it ended. But then these two are just like, no, I didn't. You totally missed this whole other scene.
It's so
it changes everything.
It changes everything. And then you understand why Jack is there and all that means. And you have to see it. You have to see it. Yes, you have to see it.
There's and Patrick, and then from what I recall, I mean, it was just a couple days ago that we watched it. It ended just with the credits, and then it showed the scenes for next week, and that was it. And then it moved on to the next disc. Maybe it's on the special features. Maybe it was something that or maybe it was something that's maybe they rearranged it around. It's gonna pop up somewhere else. I don't exactly know how the discs are set up on DVD. So I told them I would retake a look at it. They're not gonna spoil it because they haven't been spoiling anything for me. Thank you. Which is fine. Which is good. And,
what do you want me to spoil, Dylan? Tell me what you want me to spoil, and I'll spoil
He
it.
has to see the scene. He has to see the scene. We'll find it. It's online somewhere. We'll find it.
This time, Patrick, thank you for that. But I'll acquiesce to the ladies. I'll wait to see that. This is such a big thing. But speaking of Captain Jack and Torchwood, that leads us to season 2. And actually, before I do that, that's the other thing I like about the way Doctor Who's been set up now is that they create something that links all the episodes together. Like season 1 had the Bad Wolf. Bad Wolf just pops up periodically through some of the early episodes. You're like, okay, that's that's sort of like a throw-off thing. Why is that happening? You don't really think about it, and then you get to the finale. You're like, holy shit, that's what it's all about. Is Bad Wolf? That's exactly what it is, and I love that type of thing where you can put little Easter eggs or little mentions in episodes that when you watch it, it's just sort of like you just brush it aside. It's like, that's interesting. I don't know why you're sitting on that graffiti. It says Bad Wolf. I mean, what does that have to do with the story? It doesn't have anything to do with the story. That's nice that they did that, but let's move on to the story. And then you realize they're leading to a point, and boom, it hits you in season 1. They did the same thing in season 2 and are doing the same thing in season 3 right now. I think they do the same pretty much in all the seasons. There's some underlying theme that runs through every episode, and it might be the subtlest of things. And I think, Patrick, you might have even said this before too when I first started this experiment, Doctor Who, is that you need to watch carefully and keep your eyes on all the characters they're going to play. A lot of them are going to come back and play big roles in the future when you least expect it as well. So then season 2 rolls in. You've got Tennant taking over for Eccleston, and the big underlying theme in this is Torchwood. And you hear the little mentions of Torchwood throughout, like in the Christmas episode, Harriet Jones, PM Harriet Jones, tells Torchwood to destroy the Sycorax spaceship, despite what the Doctor said. I defeated them. You didn't need to do that. And he freaks out, and then he just does that. I could destroy you with just 3 little words, like she's looking really tired, isn't she? And he totally destroys his career with those with that one phrase. And so the little things here, then there's like on the internet, someone says, okay, Torchwood said this, and then there was that whole episode which set up Torchwood, which was the werewolf one with Queen Victoria, and they were at the Torchwood Estates, and that's what pretty much sets up Torchwood from the beginning. So you actually get to see the beginning of Torchwood there, and then once again, you think, okay, you're starting to get little ideas like, okay, Bad Wolf was an interesting underlying theme in season 1. Maybe Torchwood might have something to do in season 2. And then sure enough, you get to the finale again, and you have the whole thing with the ghosts and the Cybermen and the Dalek War, which was freaking amazing and hilarious at the same time, and heartbreaking with what happens with Rose. But that two-parter, the end of the season, was absolutely amazing. And once again gets close to getting the feels with what happens with Rose and the Doctor in the stretch of the beach that is called Bad Wolf, which is kind of interesting as well. so that was one of my favorites, and I actually have a lot more favorites in this season than others. As I told you guys earlier, I thought the Christmas Invasion started off a little slow for me, and it kind of, at the time, sort of like, really, you guys like Tennant, and he's like hardly in this episode, and it sort of led, it's like, okay, it's okay. And then as soon as he gets in and starts doing his the rest of the episodes, then you're like, okay, Tennant is really cool, which is true. I like Tennant a lot. I really do. I'm beginning to like him even more and more. And I think it's his acting with his eyes and his his extreme jumps again from being absolutely insane crazy to being brought back down to earth again, with the thought of what he's done, stuff like that, and it's amazing. We also talked about School Reunion, which was the return of Sarah Jane and K9, which is another one of my favorites. The Girl in the Fireplace, we talked about that briefly as well. And I also liked the Love and Monsters episode. I thought was freaking hilarious, which was where the Doctor and Rose appear for maybe a total of maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes, and that's near the end. And they're just focused on this crew of people who become friends because of the similar likes about trying to find out who the Doctor is. So that's what I say. This season started off slow for me, but it began to build up for me, and it began to make me like Tennant a lot also. So, Patrick, since you're new, tell me your feelings on season 2, and then the rest of you guys can let me know what your feelings are on season 2 as well. Favorite episodes, just thoughts in general, Torchwood, whatever.
Season 2 was great. I don't know how I would rate it in the seasons. I would probably put it behind season 1, but like you said, the Easter eggs are all through the episodes. And you touched on Bad Wolf a minute ago being through season 1. Spoiler here, you're not done with Bad Wolf. Not by a long shot.
Nope.
But I like how they played Torchwood through season 2. The episode that you talked about with Harriet Jones, that the Doctor was right there at the point of saving everything, having everything complete, and then the way she turned on him and the way it turned him, his thoughts of knowing what he had done in the past and what she had just essentially done. You could see that little switch flipping in him at that moment, but the way it builds all the way through, leading up to the Torchwood spinoff, season 2 was great.
Any particular favorites episodes besides the Christmas Invasion one that you just touched on, if you can recall?
Not.
Again, it's cool.
I don't.
No, I'm not going to pull one right off the top.
Brianne, what were we gonna say?
I was like, I don't even. This is so bad. I don't even remember where it falls. But the episode where they go back to Van Gogh.
No, that's not season 2. That's 4 maybe.
I don't. It's so sad. Like I don't even remember which companion. All I just remember is how much I cried like a baby at the end of that episode. And I don't want to spoil it, but there's they go back to, and that was a really powerful one for me. But yeah, I never remember where it fits in.
Okay. So
and we all dropped silence.
that's fine. And Janine, do you have any, if you can recall anything from season 2?
Well, like I said, I like Matt Smith better. So the season 2, everything was to me was about Rose. So I mean, they spent all that time with Rose. Rose was he started off really jaded and really hurt, and she kind of brought him back to life. And all of David Tennant was him, finding his heart again and getting back to being the Doctor from the earlier days that I remember, that had the hope and all that inspiration and the positive thoughts and potential, and able to leave some of the pain behind. And then, then things happened at the end of 2, and then Matt Smith came on board. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a particular favorite out of all of them. It was the whole thing that was seeded all the way through is what kept that going for me.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's fair. It's just I guess it's a little bit easier for me to talk about since it's more fresh in my mind. And I understand that I do. And so episode two, season two for me was pretty good. It started off slow, but it gradually built and built and built to that heartbreaking scene on the beach between him and Rose. We move on to season three, where the Runaway Bride, which we talked about a little bit already, bringing Donna into the fold just for a brief amount of time, then she'll be back later. Once again, it started slow for me because I did not like Donna's character all that much because of her shrewishness, as it were. But then, as soon as things changed for her and she became more hurt and damaged, she started to become more likable. And as I said, I think she's going to eventually overtake Rose in Dawn's eyes, because right now Dawn, my wife, she prefers Rose as the companion, but I just have a feeling that she's going to like Donna, much as you guys have said you love her as well, with the exception of you, Patrick, because you love Rose, which is cool. So the Runaway Bride, what I liked most about the Runaway Bride, and I think you touched on, Janine, or maybe you did, Brianne, is the fact that she has that one line at the end where he's getting ready to totally destroy the spider creature and all the people, and he's just like piling on this stuff, wants to kill him, and she's like, "You've got to stop," And then they have a little conversation at the end where she's like, "You need somebody to sometimes bring you back from the edge, because if you don't have that, you're going to destroy yourself." Or whatever. And from what you guys say, that's a theme that continues when she comes on board in season 4 as companions, that she's there more for his conscience and more to pull him back from the dark side, and that's what he needs, I think, in the end, because he does have such immense power. And I mean, for crying out loud, he's destroyed 2 civilizations, maybe even more than that we know of, but right now he destroyed 2 civilizations in the Daleks and in Time Lords, and the Time Lords. Okay.
I wouldn't put it destroyed. He had to make hard choices, and he wouldn't have made those choices if he had any other way.
Right.
He's trapped, right, Brianne?
You'll find out.
And then Martha rolls in. As I said, we saw the episode where she's introduced, where she goes to the moon with the hospital, and I thought that was a really good episode. I liked that one a lot. Then the Shakespeare episode, which I thought was hilarious and fantastic as well. And then leading to Gridlock, which I think right now is my favorite episode of the season so far. I know there's still a lot more to go in season 3. As I told them before, I'm getting ready to do the 2-parter Daleks in New York, Great Depression story. So, and there's a whole lot more. And I also think that this season has a certain episode by the name of Blink with the Weeping Angels.
Oh.
Yeah. Wait for that one, Dylan.
Oh my gosh. That's going to mess with your head for life.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Forever.
yeah. Forever. Forever.
And I brought that up because Jan says, Dylan, what do you think of the Weeping Angels? Have you seen them much yet? No, I haven't seen them yet, but once again, I know a little bit about them, but I will be getting to them very shortly, I think, because I think they're about maybe 4 or 5 episodes away from where I am right now. So that'll be good. So that's my take on so far what I've seen, and I think we're going to start wrapping this up because we're getting near the end of our show. Let me just run down some more of these comments. We got a lot of comments, so I'm glad that we got a lot of people who are invested. And also, Patrick, before you came on, we were discussing this a little bit because these two are being very tight-lipped about spoilers. What I was thinking of maybe doing is throwing in another special episode of Doctor Who before the new season starts in August, maybe doing an episode leading up to, by that point, that's like almost 2 months away, so it's less than 2 months away, but Dawn and I might be a little bit more in a better spot where we can talk more about spoilers and discuss more about the Doctors in the next batch that I'm leading to the new season. So I think I'm going to throw another Doctor Who episode in right before the new season starts. So I'll be in touch with you guys if you guys are interested in doing that.
Sounds good.
It might be because it might be more of a prime time show because I pretty much got August lined up already with my shows that it might need to be a prime time episode. So as I said, it just occurred to me today. Maybe it's something we can talk about before the new season starts. Which, for those who don't know, the new season with Peter Capaldi as the new Doctor begins August 23rd, Saturday, August 23rd, 8 p.m. on BBC America. I agree with you too, Brianne. When I started this adventure with Doctor Who, it was right around the time when Capaldi was being introduced as the new Doctor, and reading articles about him and seeing him and just seeing some of the teaser trailers. I'm actually really excited about Capaldi as well. I was also this close to just not watching any Doctor Who's up to that point and just starting with Capaldi. But at this point, I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I started at the beginning of the contemporary ones, and am on my way working there. But I'm actually really excited about the Capaldi Doctor Who, and unfortunately, I'll have to watch it on DVR delay because Kitty bedtime is 8 p.m. to like 8:45, so I don't want to. I'm not going to keep my kids up to watch Doctor Who live. I will DVR it, and I'll probably watch it at 9 o'clock on Saturday, so that I don't miss anything. So, and what's really cool also about that is that's Saturday, August 23rd. Sunday, August 24th is Dylan Knows International. Brianne's going to be back on that episode. Bronwyn, who was on the first Doctor Who episode, and Mike from Pagan are going to be on that episode, and that might be a chance for us to discuss the new season. Brianne says she'll try to find a way to watch it because she's caught it only on Netflix. Hopefully you'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to discuss it. If not, we'll work around that.
I think my sister will be moved into college, so I'm just going to drive to her dorm room and make the 19-year-olds deal with me for an hour.
That's the plan.
Happening.
That's awesome. So let's see. Anything interesting over here?
And
Go ahead.
Like I said before I jumped into the conversation, I was watching a little bit of the show, and I want to say one thing that I'm a little bit disappointed in these two ladies. When y'all were talking about the TARDIS being bigger on the inside, neither one of you mentioned the swimming pool.
He hasn't got that far yet.
I know they didn't want to spoil it. They didn't want to spoil it for me, but that's cool.
There's all
Patrick's on my side.
Yes.
Okay, actually, that's a good question that we can hit before we end this. Janica says, "What are y'all's favorite monsters, bad guys?" So let's start with Janine. What's your? They could even go as far back as the old series if you want. What's your favorite bad guy?
Oh, geez. There's a couple of them actually that go back. Davros is the start of the Daleks. That's that particular episode that I mentioned, when he could have changed everything and he didn't. And there's another one too, and for the life of me I can't think of the name, but it's got a brain in the bowl and he's walking around. It's very creepy. I can't think of the name of it at the moment though. All I can think of is Davros. But the Silence is pretty creepy, but you haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not really spoiling anything. It's just your favorite bad guy. So the Silence is creepy. Is a good one.
Yeah.
Brianne, do you have anyone?
The Weeping Angels. I love them. They're terrifying, and they ultimately break my heart for reasons that Janine, well, Patrick understands too, but, and that's, you know what, I'm sitting here realizing I don't cry for television. I cry like a baby with Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like all I'm doing is saying, well, then that episode made me cry, and that one made me cry, but yeah, the Weeping Angels made me cry a lot.
Mm.
Patrick, you got any bad guys or monsters that are favorites?
For me, it'll always be the Daleks, the upside down trash cans with the plumbers. They're just I got a love for them, but as far as the creepiest ones, I would give it to the Silence over the Weeping Angels. Both of them were equally terrifying, but just to know how the silence works, and once you see it, you'll understand. Just to know how they work and what they can do, they're just creepy.
I think for me, I honestly, there are not too many villains that are really, or monsters, whatever, that are sticking out of my head too much, except for possibly, as you said, Patrick, the Daleks. Because to me, I've always heard that they were the the Doctor's most famous nemesis, I suppose, or their biggest one, almost like their Joker to his Batman type of thing. And it's an interesting interplay between them because they're actually deathly afraid of him, and yet they keep trying to stop him, which is fairly interesting. And I know they're going to keep popping up.
How much of the Cybermen have you seen?
The what?
The Cybermen. Have you seen any?
We've seen, yeah, the Cybermen. I like them too. We saw the two-parter that ended season 2, Doomsday, where they fought with the Daleks in the war, and then when they came back in the alternate dimension. Those are the only 2 times that they've appeared in what I've seen so far, and they're pretty good too. The fact that they are regular people being turned into Cybermen is into the bad guys is kind of frightening in its own right. Is that anybody could be a Cyberman? You could be one. I could be one. It's just a matter of if we go through the process, which is very painful with the machines of death, with them slicing you up, and just you hear the screams and the ching 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 of the knives and stuff like that, and then out come the Cybermen like that. And but yeah, they've only appeared so far in the two-parters. The one where they were reintroduced in the alternate dimension, and then the season finale of season 2 where they went to war with the Daleks, which was one of the funniest scenes in that series, where the Cybermen and the Daleks were arguing with each other. Everybody else is just sitting back and watching them. And they're like, "You must eliminate." "No, we're going to destroy you." "No, you can't destroy us. We're going to destroy you." Just this going back and forth, just like a little, excuse my language, little bitch slapping back and forth. It was just one of the funniest.
That's why I brought it up. I didn't know if you'd got that far, but yeah, the episodes with the Daleks and the Cybermen, they're fantastic.
Because I mean, it's an interesting view if you look at it, because they are. Granted, they're Cybermen, but they are technically humanoids, so Daleks don't like humans, so it makes sense that they don't like each other. But we should work together. No, we can't work together because we hate each other.
Yeah, but the whole thing of it being so brilliant is if you look at them individually, the Daleks and the Cybermen both have the same emotion. They have or lack of emotion, you know, and that's what makes the dynamic between the two of them so great. Is that they both have this lack of emotion, being on one thing, but they can't work together to accomplish the thing.
That is funny because if they did, they would win.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they just can't. That's great. So I think on that note, I think we're going to end this this Doctor Who discussion, because once again you're being tight-lipped with the spoilers.
It's our duty.
And we haven't even talked about the Ood yet.
Oh, the Ood are awesome.
Yeah, we had the one.
You didn't ask which were the awesome ones.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we do that then? What are the awesome ones? Because I did see the Ood. I've only seen their first appearance, which is in that two-parter about the Satan planet outside of the black hole. But I've heard that they play a bigger role down the line. So please, Janine, tell me about how awesome the Ood are.
When you get to know Donna, you will understand the Ood in a whole new way.
Yep.
That will make you love the Ood like we do, because the Ood rock.
They do.
Most definitely. And so does Donna, in so many ways.
Brianne, is the Ood your awesome pick?
I like the Ood, but and I always screw up her name. This is later. This is Matt Smith. Vestra, the lizard lady.
Oh, Vestra?
Yeah. Vestra. I always mess that up.
Yes. No.
I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. She is.
And Patrick, what's your awesome?
I didn't even think about it till Ray mentioned it, but Vesper, yes. The Ode for me, it has to be. And when you see the coming things with Donna, you'll completely understand it.
Understand.
Um, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
The song of the universe.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Dylan, start watching.
Oh, it took you months to start your homework. You're behind, young man.
I know. I should get a slap on the wrist for that. I think tonight though we're gonna watch the 2-part Dalek episode probably, and then we'll keep moving along. We'll keep moving along at a great clip because I really do want to get as close as I can to the end before season was it season 8, I guess, with Capaldi. I want to try to get as close as I can. I honestly I don't think I'll be able to, but as I said, I'm going to try. And because I have such faith in the writing staff, I think that they're going to be able to introduce Capaldi to people who might not have been following it up to that point, to make it understandable, because they're really good about that. They're really good about you. It's better to know everything because you get more of the jokes and you get more of the stuff that's going on, and you get more of the reason why this is amazing and why this happens and how cool this is, and it's just, and why you have the feels and stuff like that. But the way the writing is also, if you have no idea what's going on, they're pretty good about getting you caught up to speed pretty good and pretty quick, so you can jump in and have a general idea of what's going on, and then eventually get you hooked, and then they'll get you to go back and look at the other ones.
That's something I think they've done great, even back when you watch the classics, that every time the Doctor regenerates, you can always pick up at that point, at the point of a new Doctor, and being able to keep up with the story, that you don't have to go back and watch every episode that happened before. It's good too, and if you have you get some of the jokes, even some of the jokes that come from the classic into the contemporary one. But I think the writing on it has always been that way, is that when they do introduce a new Doctor, the personalities of the Doctor are always different, but you can always pick up from the start of a new Doctor and be able to follow what's going on.
And what I think that I find really interesting about this upcoming season also is the fact that, from what I heard, is they're not taking a break. They're going to run all 12 episodes back to back to back to back to back to back. There's going to be no break in between, because it's going to be one huge. I mean, most of the time the stories have that underlying arc we talked about already, but this one is going to be one of the closest, where every episode is going to be a continuation of the next one. It's going to be one. So you might have your individual. You might have your individual episodes, but it's going to be all connected in the end. And the fact is, and that excites me also, because it's going to be one of those things where you're not going to have that break, which is the new thing now. I mean, with Walking Dead and all these other shows out there, where they do the first 7 episodes of the season, then take a break for 2 months, and then show the last 7 or 8 episodes. I understand why the TV people do it, but it's annoying. And the fact that they're going to run straight these 12 episodes for 12 weeks, I think is really impressive, and I'm really excited about that. So once again, August 23rd, 8 p.m., BBC America, Doctor Who Season 8 with Peter Capaldi starts. I think the episode is called Deep Breath. It should be fairly interesting. They're getting back to an older Doctor, which they haven't done for a while. Eccleston, Tennant, and Smith especially were the younger ones. Now Capaldi's coming back with being a bit older, bringing back the older characters, which is actually, I think, a pretty good idea and a good breath of fresh air for the people who have been watching for a while and maybe have gotten a little, maybe not irritated, but kind of, okay, he's young again. We get it. It give you a chance to work on a whole different level now with someone who's older. So I'm really excited about the new season. I want to thank you guys and Bronwyn as well, and everybody else for getting me into Doctor Who. And I will do my best to do my duty to Brianne and Janeen and Patrick and my country to catch up on Doctor Who as quick as I can, and I'll have you guys back on for my maybe we'll do a pre-Doctor Who release party type of thing, maybe the week before, like maybe was that August 16th, maybe Saturday, August 16th, maybe. As I said, I'm just throwing stuff out there. We'll work it out. We'll work the details out a little bit later. But I think we'll throw a pre-release episode of Dylan Knows Doctor Who, and by then I should have a more bigger idea, and then we can start talking more about the other seasons and some of the spoilers you guys were talking about. Just real quick, Jan, no, I haven't met Wilfred yet, so so I haven't gotten there yet.
You'll love Wilfred. You'll love Wilfred.
So on that note, I want to thank you all for watching. I had a great time. I think you guys had a great time as well. We will do this again back in August. And just a few other things. Dylan Knows will come back next Sunday with my Dylan Knows Comics episode. Me and MJ Khan, as of now, are going to be co-hosting with Moms Read Comics, Jessica. She's one of the 3 ladies on Comicosity Hangout, which is a great Google Hangout for comics fans. So she's going to be on the show next Sunday, hopefully. I mean, it is 4th of July weekend. She said they might have plans, but right now she said pencil me in, so we'll get her on there. Week after that will be my list show with Gigi Fletcher. Sticking with the July 4th type of theme, we'll be doing top 10 government type films, films that are based around the government, stuff like that. I see you, Janine. Big deal. The week after that will be my paranormal show with Daphne Dew, and possibly Midget Girl might be on. And then end of July will be Dylan Knows International on vacation, where I will be broadcasting live from my vacation house in the lovely Virginia Beach. With right now, I got the McGevnas on board as well as to coming on the show, and I'm going to try to get my sister-in-law Catherine, who was late of the Dawn Snarkaholics show. She's going to be down there with Dawn and I, so she's going to be in the same vacation house as I am. So we'll probably do a little hook up there. So that'll be fun. And so it'll be a lot of fun. So that's what's upcoming on Dylan Knows. Don't forget Snarkaholic Radio. This Thursday. I will be on Snarkaholic Radio on Thursday. So if you want to see me again, I will be on the new episode of Snarkaholic Radio. We'll be talking Defiance and Under the Dome, which comes back. Yeah, so we'll be talking about that. Also, last night was Snakehead Swamp from Sci-Fi, which was a great sci-fi film. It seemed like old times like that. Tony, who runs Snarkaholic's website, has got the voting up for that. So please, if you watch Snakehead Swamp, please go to Snarkaholic's website and vote give it a grade. It's for the Snarkies, which we'll be revealing later in the year. So, for Brianne, for Janine, for Patrick, thank you all for coming. And keep watching the skies. Oh, wait, that's not Doctor Who.
No, Firefly.
Thanks, guys, for coming on. Thanks coming on. We'll do this again right before the new series. Okay. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and thank you for living through all the technical difficulties. Hopefully we won't have that again, but who am I kidding? We will have technical difficulties all the time. Hopefully not as bad as they were today. So for that, live long and prosper. Oh, wait, that's not Doctor Who either.